What if your biggest weakness is actually your superpower? You overthink, you doubt, you replay everything in your mind, but maybe, just maybe, this is not a flaw. It's the training ground for something bigger. Have you ever felt like your anxiety is a flaw? Like it's something broken inside you? That racing pulse, the tightness in your chest, the thoughts that spin too fast to hold? But what if I told you that your anxiety is not your weakness? What if, hidden beneath the noise, it's actually a sign of brilliance? You see, the world often celebrates calmness, confidence, certainty, but greatness rarely begins in peace. It begins in restlessness, in the inability to accept things as they are, in the ache for something more. Anxiety sharpens perception. It scans, it anticipates, it prepares. People with anxiety are often the most intuitive. They notice patterns, feel what others miss, and when that energy is not suppressed, it becomes insight. Anxiety is your system searching for safety, but in that search, it also discovers solutions. The key is not to silence the anxiety, but to translate it. Anxiety is a signal, not of weakness but of sensitivity. A finely tuned nervous system that picks up on everything. It notices what others miss. It prepares for what could go wrong, because somewhere deep down, it wants things to go right. That ache, that tension you feel, might be your mind refusing to live a small life, because anxiety doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It rises in minds that care, that observe, that question. It's the voice that says, something isn't right. There's more to this. I need to understand. It's not always easy to carry, but it's not meant to be carried alone, and it's not meant to be silenced. What if we stopped fighting it and started listening? What if your anxiety is a compass, one that doesn't point toward disaster, but toward depth, truth, vision? Because here's something history doesn't say out loud. So many of the greatest thinkers, creators, and visionaries felt just like you, restless, uneasy, doubtful. But inside that pressure, they found purpose. What if I told you that your anxiety isn't a flaw, but a form of intelligence? It's your system alerting you, sensing patterns others can't, noticing shifts in tone, in energy, in silence. You walk into a room and feel everything. That's not weakness, that's sensitivity. And sensitivity is a superpower when you know how to wield it. Anxious minds are often deeply reflective. They replay moments not to punish themselves, but to learn, to decode, to prepare. They seek meaning. They imagine possibilities. They crave depth in a world built on surface. And in that depth lies their genius. Most likely, you are a happy owner of high sensitivity, against the background of which you may have received psychological trauma. But despite this, you are also an owner of high intelligence. And hypersensitivity manifests itself in you as a side effect of the depth of the mind. Leonardo da Vinci, Alan Turing, Nikola Tesla, Virginia Woolf, chronic overthinkers. Their thinking was formed as a layering of reality. Some of the greatest minds the world has ever known were also some of its most anxious. They didn't walk through life with unshakable confidence. They trembled. They overthought. They felt everything. Nikola Tesla felt the world too deeply. The light, the sounds, the emotions, they all overwhelmed him. But he turned that energy into an invention. He came up with technologies that were far ahead of his time, not despite his sensitivity, but because of it. It was this sensitivity that allowed him to imagine currents transmitted through the air. Long before others realized it, Alan Turing is introverted, anxious, and misunderstood. But it was in this quiet head that the algorithm that changed the whole world lived. Alan, his restless mind was cracking unbreakable codes. He saved millions of people because he couldn't stop thinking. And Virginia Woolf wrote not from a state of rest, but from the center of the storm. Her depth was born because of her sensitivity, not in spite of it. Virginia lived with deep emotional tides. Her anxiety accompanied her on every page. And yet she changed literature. Her sensitivity was not her weakness, it was her art. You see, anxiety is not just fear. Sometimes it's hyperactive sensitivity, a signal that your inner world is alive and connected to the invisible. The anxious ones see no less. They see more. And sometimes that's the source of their genius. If anxiety lives in you, you are not broken. You are simply tuned to a different frequency. You notice more. You feel more. You carry stories in your bones that others walk past without seeing. And maybe you weren't meant to fit into a world that rewards numbness. Maybe your inner tremble is not a flaw to fix, but a compass pointing somewhere deeper. What if your anxiety is the invitation to slow down, to listen inward, to build a life that honors your rhythm instead of punishing it? Greatness isn't always loud. Sometimes it hides in the quietest rooms, in the softest hearts, in the souls that feel too much and still choose to show up. So if you feel too much, good. This world needs more people who feel. So how do you learn to direct the flow of thoughts? To direct the flow of thoughts, first admit that you don't have to believe every one of them. Take a step back, watch it, and choose what to stay on. Not everything needs to be caught. Not everything is worth holding. The real power lies in the ability to choose which ones you turn into action. Train your attention, and thoughts will begin to serve you, not control you. What if your sensitivity has never been a weakness? I've been your gift all this time. This is what makes you human, allows you to hear the quiet pain of others, create, get in touch, take care, in a way that others can't. You are not weak, you are awake, and this world is better because you feel it. And today, whisper to yourself, I'm not broken, I'm becoming myself. And remember, your soul is not too much. She is exactly what this world needs. If it touched your heart, subscribe to Everon. There's even more waiting for you here. Awaken your inner universe. Subscribe. New videos every week. Sparkles.